Hello dear soul, welcome to Sight of Dean. The sun-drenched streets of Los Angeles, renowned for their glistening skyline and vibrant atmosphere, were suddenly overwhelmed by an ominous shift. The usual golden glow that painted the city was replaced with thick, suffocating smoke that blotted out the once blue skies. The air, which had once carried the sounds of daily life, was now pierced by the relentless wail of sirens and the urgent cries of residents fleeing for their lives. A massive wildfire, fueled by the fierce Santa Ana winds, had swept through the city, igniting destruction on an unprecedented scale. Buildings crumbled to ash in the wake of the fire, their charred remnants a grim testament to the fury of nature. Amidst this chaos, Aiden, a seasoned firefighter with over 15 years of experience, stood frozen, staring at the towering inferno that surged before him. The heat from the fire was unbearable, and the fierce winds seemed to feed it, making it even more relentless. His colleague, drenched in sweat, shouted in desperation, "We can't control this." It was a futile battle. Yet, what captured Aiden's attention in the midst of the destruction was something extraordinary. A pristine white mosque, standing tall and unscathed amidst the raging firestorm. Surrounded by a sea of flames, it glowed with an almost ethereal light, an anomaly in the apocalyptic landscape. Aiden's heart raced as he pointed to the mosque, his voice trembling in disbelief. His colleagues paused, staring in stunned silence. The mosque was the only building left standing, untouched by the inferno that had leveled everything else around it. The scene was beyond comprehension. Inside the mosque, Imam Shik Amad and a small group of congregants were calmly engaged in prayer, oblivious to the inferno raging outside. As the smoke thickened and the fire drew closer, the atmosphere within the mosque was charged with an eerie sense of peace. The congregation, knowing the fire could claim their sanctuary at any moment, chose not to flee in panic but to surrender their fears to Allah. Imam Shik Amad reassured them, saying, "Allah is the ultimate protector. If we place our trust in Him, no harm can come to us without His will." As the fire inched closer, they held steadfast in their prayers, finding solace in their unwavering faith. As the fire reached the mosque's perimeter, an inexplicable phenomenon unfolded before the eyes of those inside. A sudden shift in the wind seemed to form an invisible shield around the mosque, diverting the flames away from its walls. The inferno, which had mercilessly consumed everything in its path, stopped abruptly at the mosque's grounds, as though a higher power had intervened. The flames never reached the mosque, and the air around it remained calm, despite the chaos all around. Outside, onlookers and emergency responders were left in awe, unable to explain how such a thing was possible. The miracle, however, did not go unnoticed. The news of the mosque's miraculous survival spread quickly, sparking curiosity and disbelief across the city and beyond. Maria, a local journalist known for her rational, fact-based approach to news, found herself drawn to the story. The reports about the mosque's survival intrigued her, but she was skeptical. Determined to uncover the truth, she headed to the scene, camera in hand. What she found left her speechless. The mosque stood completely untouched, the bright white paint of its walls gleaming in stark contrast to the blackened ruins that surrounded it. It was as though the fire had simply avoided it, leaving the mosque as it was, pristine and untouched. Maria approached a firefighter who had been at the scene and asked, "What happened here?" The firefighter, visibly perplexed, shook his head. "I don't know. We saw the fire halt, as if something was blocking it," he explained, his voice tinged with disbelief. Maria, though still trying to wrap her mind around the event, began documenting everything through her lens. The story she had come to uncover was no longer just about a fire, it was about something far deeper, something that defied logic and human understanding. As she sat in her car later that night, reviewing the footage she had captured, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that what she had witnessed was something extraordinary. It was a phenomenon that didn't belong in the realm of science or explanation. With her journalistic instincts kicking in, Maria was determined to find answers, even if they took her beyond the boundaries of conventional thought. The footage of the mosque, glowing amidst the destruction, lingered in her mind as she set out to find the witnesses and uncover the truth behind the miracle. The next morning, Maria returned to the mosque to speak with the people who had experienced the miracle firsthand. The area around the mosque had become a focal point, drawing the attention of local residents, firefighters, and journalists alike. As Maria joined the group, she found Imam Shik Amad standing before the crowd, recounting the events of the previous day with quiet resolve. When the fire approached, we had no means of defense, no fire extinguishers, no help, Imam Shik Amad explained. All we had was prayer. We recited verses from the Quran, seeking Allah's protection. His calm demeanor in the face of such danger seemed to radiate an aura of serenity, a stark contrast to the destruction that had ravaged the city. Maria then spoke to Karim, a volunteer who had been at the mosque during the fire. He shared his own experience of the miraculous event. "We thought it was the end," Karim said, his voice filled with awe. The smoke was suffocating and the fire was so close, but then the fire stopped. It was as if there was an invisible barrier surrounding the mosque, protecting us. Karim's words echoed through Maria's mind as she tried to process the enormity of what had occurred. She was not only hearing about a physical miracle but also about the powerful faith that had been the driving force behind the survival of the mosque. There was something undeniably spiritual in the air, something that transcended ordinary understanding. Aiden, the firefighter who had first witnessed the mosque's survival, also found himself grappling with the inexplicable nature of the event. After his shift, he returned to the mosque to meet with Imam Shik Amad, hoping to understand the event from a spiritual perspective. "This is the first time I've ever felt small," Aiden admitted, his usual confidence shaken. "I've always relied on science and logic, but this can't be explained." Imam Shik Amad smiled kindly, understanding Aiden's struggle. "Sometimes," the Imam said, "Allah's power transcends human logic. Perhaps this is his way of reminding us that there is something greater than ourselves." Aiden listened intently, his mind beginning to open to the possibility of a reality far beyond what he had always believed. As the days passed, the story of the White Mosque's survival continued to capture the attention of people from all walks of life. News outlets covered the event, calling it a beacon of light in the midst of darkness. Social media was flooded with images and videos of the mosque, with some praising the event as a divine sign, while others remained skeptical, searching for a rational explanation. Maria, still captivated by the mystery, spent more time at the mosque, talking to the people who had witnessed the miracle. One evening, while seated with a few congregants, Maria listened as an elderly woman, Mrs. Carter, shared her perspective. Though she was not Muslim, Mrs. Carter had lived near the mosque for years and had always felt a sense of peace from the building. "When the fire came close," Mrs. Carter explained, her voice shaking with emotion, "I felt there was something protecting all of us, not just those inside." This revelation struck Maria deeply. The miracle was not just about the mosque surviving the fire, it was about how it brought a sense of peace and safety to everyone around it, regardless of their faith or background. Maria realized that the mosque was more than a place of worship. It was a symbol of hope, unity, and protection. Even Aiden, the hardened firefighter, began to question his long-held beliefs. A group of his colleagues, including Ryan, who had been with him during the fire, visited the mosque to learn more. Ryan confessed that since witnessing the miracle, he felt a sense of emptiness in his life, as though something was missing. Imam Shik Amad welcomed them warmly, explaining that the mosque was not just a place for prayer but also a place to seek wisdom and knowledge. For Aiden and Ryan, it was the beginning of a new journey, one that moved beyond the tangible into the spiritual realm. Meanwhile, Maria sought a scientific explanation for the events by meeting with Dr. Nathan Harris, a wildfire expert. Dr. Harris examined the photos and footage Maria had captured and confirmed that there was no logical reason why the mosque should have remained untouched. "The Santa Ana winds should have pushed the fire directly towards the mosque," he said, "but the mosque remained unharmed, as though something had shielded it." Maria nodded but knew that the story could not be explained through science alone. There was something much larger at play, something beyond the reach of traditional understanding. A few days later, Maria met with Alex, an architect who had been involved in the mosque's construction. Alex, once a staunch skeptic, now found himself at a loss for an explanation. "I don't believe in miracles," Alex said, But how could this happen? The mosque should have burned just like everything else. Imam Shik Amad, ever patient, responded, "Sometimes Allah shows his signs in ways we cannot explain, not to prove his power, but to remind us to return to him." Maria, her mind now opened to new possibilities, realized that the miracle of the mosque was not just about its physical survival. It was about the profound impact it had on everyone who witnessed it. The believers who found their faith renewed, the skeptics who questioned their previous convictions, and the community that came together in the wake of the disaster. The mosque had become a symbol of resilience, not just a structure of stone and mortar, but a beacon of divine protection, serving as a testament to the power of faith in the face of overwhelming adversity. Maria's perspective shifted as she began to see the event not only as a journalistic story but as a deeply spiritual experience, one that transcended her original need for a rational explanation. As the weeks passed, the miracle continued to resonate with those who had witnessed it. The mosque, now a focal point for reflection and pilgrimage, attracted people from all walks of life, those seeking answers, those in need of solace, and those curious to witness what they had heard described as a miracle. Imam Shik Amad continued to guide his congregation, not just through prayers, but with a deeper understanding of the significance of the event. He often spoke about the need for patience, trust, and surrender to the will of Allah, reminding everyone that miracles were not always meant to be understood through human logic but to bring about a sense of peace and connection to the divine. For Maria, the impact of the event began to shape her own life in unexpected ways. She continued her journalistic pursuits but found herself questioning her prior worldview. The logical explanations she once sought seemed to pale in comparison to the mysteries of the universe that she was now beginning to witness. Her interactions with the mosque's visitors and the stories they shared opened her heart to a new sense of purpose. She started to see miracles not as events to be dissected, but as moments of grace and divine intervention, reminding humanity of something greater than itself. The story of the mosque became a personal journey for her, one that she would carry with her forever, reminding her that sometimes the most profound truths could not be understood but only felt. Aiden, too, experienced a shift in his outlook. The fire that had once felt like an uncontrollable force of nature now seemed to him as though it had been part of a greater plan. His initial disbelief gave way to a quiet acceptance of the idea that not everything in life could be explained. The mosque's miraculous survival was a sign, not just of divine power, but of the interconnectedness of all things, reminding Aiden that even in the face of chaos, there was always a deeper meaning to be found if one had the eyes to see. He began attending the mosque regularly, seeking guidance and wisdom from Imam Shik Amad, and slowly, he found peace within himself. The fire, which had once seemed so destructive, was now a catalyst for his spiritual awakening. As the story of the mosque continued to spread, it began to spark a broader conversation about faith, miracles, and the unseen forces that shape our lives. People from different religious backgrounds, and even those with no particular faith, were drawn to the message of the mosque's survival. Some came to pray, others to reflect, and some simply to marvel at the mystery of it all. The mosque had become a symbol of unity in a divided world, reminding people of the importance of hope, faith, and resilience in the face of adversity. It had transcended its physical structure to become something far greater, a reminder that, even in the darkest times, there is always a light that can guide us through. In the years that followed, the mosque became a place of pilgrimage for many, not because of its architectural beauty or historical significance, but because of the profound spiritual awakening it had sparked in those who witnessed the miracle. People came to it, not seeking answers but looking for a connection to something greater than themselves. It was no longer just a building, it was a living testament to the power of faith, the strength of the human spirit, and the mysterious ways in which the divine can intervene in our lives. For Imam Shik Amad, the mosque was a place where the presence of Allah could be felt more profoundly, and he continued to guide those who sought solace, wisdom, and peace. Maria, now deeply changed by her journey, returned to the mosque one final time, this time not as a journalist, but as a seeker of truth. She stood before its doors, her heart full of gratitude and wonder, knowing that the story of the mosque was far more than a headline. It was a living, breathing testament to the profound mysteries of life and faith. As she gazed upon its white walls, now weathered by time but still standing strong, she whispered a quiet prayer of thanks. The mosque had survived, not just the fire, but the many challenges that life had thrown its way. And in doing so, it had given everyone who witnessed its miracle the gift of hope, reminding them that even in the face of destruction, there is always room for something miraculous to take root and grow. The story of the mosque, its miraculous survival, and the people whose lives it touched serves as a powerful reminder of the unseen forces that guide our lives, even when we fail to understand them. It teaches us that faith is not about seeking explanations for every event, but rather about surrendering to the mystery of existence and trusting in a higher power. Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and moments of despair, but in those very moments, there is often the potential for divine intervention, for a breakthrough that can change everything. The mosque, in its silence and strength, stands as a symbol of resilience, hope, and the eternal presence of Allah's protection. Just as the fire could not consume its spirit, neither can the trials of life extinguish the light that faith brings into our hearts. For those who find themselves facing their own fires, their own trials, remember the mosque. Remember that sometimes, what appears to be a disaster may simply be a prelude to a greater revelation, a deeper connection with the divine. Trust that your journey, no matter how difficult, is part of a larger plan. As the mosque stands firm against the winds of time, so too can you stand strong in the face of life's challenges. Keep faith, keep hope, and always believe that, even in the darkest of times, miracles are waiting to unfold. The journey is not over, it is only just beginning.